Dyslexia's dose, Dyslexia's dice, or Dyslexia diced. Thank you for joining our bandwagon. In our videos about dyslexia, we share the greatest and most up-to-date and flexible and literally down-to-earth applicable videos you're likely to see about kids who, your own kids, your nephews, nieces, friends, or students who have trouble reading. Dyslexia is not a scary word. Usually, if a kid is smart and bright and is used to everything going their way and is used to being great at sports and like, hey, what happened there? That means that this little cutie pie over there is having trouble reading. And guess what? That's all dyslexia is. It's not scary. Say it after me. It's not scary. So we're looking for what we are now going to tell you how to approach it when something happens, when you come across a deal in dyslexia and how to approach it. We're also going to be telling you more about how dyslexia works and go into a specific scenario each time to help you overcome that kind of scenario when you approach it. So again, Dyslexia's deal is going to tell you more about what it means to have dyslexia and what's going on in that little child's mind. Dyslexia diced is going to dice it you into your own life. And Dyslexia's dose is usually going to be telling you more about their strengths and how you can do stuff that will entice those strengths. So we have all those different parts here. But if you don't get to the end of the video, then you will not know how to take it into your own life. And so therefore you need to do that right now. Make sure to clear the room, have a quiet place, and make sure to get this whole video going. It's only going to be 10 minutes and it will change the day for that day, whatever day that is for that child. So we're going to start with our title here is Carnivorous versus Coronavirus. So this is what happened, guys, with Carnivorous versus Coronavirus. When I first saw that word coronavirus over and over again, when it first came out, I used to think, I always read the word coronavirus as carnivorous. And no matter what I did, it just turned into carnivorous because to me, it was just like this funny word that everyone was talking about. Nothing was going to ever happen with it. Oh, right, that carnivorous situation. And I named it Carnivorous. And that's just what it was called. But this is actually deeper than all of you can think because really what we have here, carnivorous versus coronavirus, what we got here is we actually have the most beautiful thing going on here, and that is called understanding these kids with dyslexia much better now that this occurrence happened to me. Right? Ding dong. So number one, we are going to talk about everything we can learn about dyslexia's deal. Number one right here, everything we learn about dyslexia's deal. Orange is going to be deal. At the end, I'm going to test you. So again, this is deal. Why is orange deal? Because it's very tealy, dealy, dear. Oh, the dear orange. Because I once knew someone who was orange, and he was so dear to me. He always had this orange pinch look on his face. So dear and deal sound the same. So I'm going to have orange be dyslexia's deal. Number one, the reason what I learned about kids with dyslexia from dyslexia's deal, carnivorous versus coronavirus, is that these kids just, it was not important to me, that word. And I didn't really care what it said. Whatever it said, it didn't mean anything to me. So I just let it get jumbled. So kids with dyslexia, when words don't mean anything to them and don't have importance to them, they might let it get jumbled. That's number one. Number two in dyslexia's deal. Number two, right over here. Basically, what kids with dyslexia naturally do is they naturally go toward the visual, what the word looks like, what the word can look like to them. And they do not know how to do sounds and visual stuff together in the same sense that we do. So that is what happened to me because that word didn't mean anything to me. And that's how it turned into carnivorous. Okay, number three, dyslexia's deal. The third thing I wanted to tell you is that basically, oh, look at that. I make a 3 that way. You see it backwards. So that's what happens with these guys too. But that's just a side note. The third thing I want to tell you is that basically it's just so interesting. But because every time I called it carnivorous, it got harder and harder for me to go back to coronavirus. So these little guys with dyslexia, every time they change that word around, every time they say it wrong, it gets harder and harder to say it right. Okay, here we go. And number four in dyslexia's deal, basically, in order for me to get out of that mode, I needed to get ready to say corona the right way before I approached it. So I needed to have a method and a strategy to say, you never thought it would be this complicated, to say it the right way before I got to the word carnivorous, I mean corona. And number five, the way that I chose to be able to do that needed to include my mouth, visualization, and something permanent in my life that I knew about. For example, core, core own a game, the core. So I had to get my mouth ready to say core and think about cut and r together, core. I'm going to start with core, make my mouth go cut or when I say it, and I'm going to get ready to say it. And every time I said it the right way, it got easier and easier for me to keep it the right way. Now, if I went back to the carnivorous one time, it would ruin the whole thing. And I'd have to start over. So it was very important that on my first try, it come out right. And I had to get my mouth ready for that. So those are the 5 different dyslexia deals that we learned about kids with dyslexia right now in order to have it change, in order for us to be able to change how they approach words and really not get them into the situation in the first place by uniquenizing words and not letting them get into the wrong mode. So that is really, really something to think about, the 5 things. Who can remember them? Number 1, visual. Number 2, if you don't care about it, right? Number 3, getting your mouth visualization and holding on to it in the right way. Number 4, the more times you approach it the right way, the more times it will work. And number 5, you don't want to go back to it because then it will ruin the whole thing again. So that is the story with dyslexia's deal today. Now we're going to go to what was orange was dear. You know, orange is dear to me. Now we're going to move to number 5 over here. Now we're going to move to dyslexia's dose. Dyslexia's dose is going to be blue. Why is it going to be blue? Dose. Could someone give me a good thing for dose and blue? Dyslexia's dose. Dose is going to be like a dose of the dear little parts of dyslexia and how these kids can shine every day. And so what we know about these kids, they like to uniquenize stuff and they like to hold on to them once they can apply to them in a dear, unique way. So we have to make things unique and help them make things unique. So therefore, when they come up with their own idea about something, anything at all, we have to grab onto it and say, wow, and actually go and entice that idea of theirs, making it even more exciting and acting like it's like God's gift to humanity. Because guess what? These kids are God's gift to humanity. So therefore, when they come up with their own idea or their own visualization or their own thought or their own way to make something as boring as a closet or a bed, something more exciting, which I'm going to attach to this video, oopsie, then you have to go and take that and bring it to the next level and say, really, when, why, where, and how, and have them explain the connection for you. Because the more they can explain connections, the more they can make their own connections. And that is our dyslexia's dose for today. Remember, dose, rose, toast, bose, rose, the rose of the blue. Think of a blue rose. And that's how I'm going to remember that dose is blue. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move on to, let's keep going. Right over here, I am back at your mercy over here with Dyslexia's dice. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe right now because those people who subscribe are going to get free advice. In fact, I now have a Patreon account. If you guys do not wish to, go through the whole process, although it's a very quick process of your child learning how to read and feeling good about themselves through our training, our 15-session training programs, 15 to 20 session training programs, but only paying for 15 of them, then you might want to just go into our Patreon account, just pay 10 to 20 per, depending on how much you're going to want in your own lesson planning of your kids and your own homeschooling. Then you might just want to pay $10 to $20 per session, per month, and you get whatever advice you need in that range to be able to create your own lessons. So I'm here for you, and I will leave that link for that Patreon account. And number 3, we have Dyslexia's Diced. Now, either we could say Dyslexia Diced, or we could say Dyslexia's Diced. Today, we're going to say Dyslexia Diced because we are going to dice this method that I have been giving you today and talking about today into a specific situation and how to go and attack it. So let's pretend carnivorous coronavirus. Let's assume that your kid has a word that they are reading wrong all the time, okay? They are reading the word wrong, saw, and we're going to be visual here. They're reading the wrong saw versus was, okay? They are reversing them, saw and was, and they don't know how to get back into the mode of getting them in the right place. So whoever taught it to them taught them in a way that they got all springy and connected and mushed up. And you want to go and make saw the red guy and was the orange guy. So what are some methods that you could use to make that, not methods, to make sure this happens? So you would take that word saw. Let's take that word saw and make it a completely different entity. This is the word saw. And you are just going to eliminate the other word. A lot of people think that you should go and take the two words and teach the difference. B and D. Here's a B, here's a D. Here's saw, here's was. Here is a rose, and here's a different kind of rose. Okay, this is how they're different. No, for kids with dyslexia, they need to uniqueize it completely, and it needs to be a separate entity. So you want them to see this word saw in all of its power. You want them to breathe that word saw, to breathe into it, to hear it, to see it. What word rhymes with saw? What happens to that aw sound? Oh, we're going to say it in that voice when we hear it. Oh, can you picture a stroller for the W? Actually put that stroller on. Describe the baby to me. There's two basically, you know, thin little lines under the W, you know, those little peaks going on. Describe the wheels to me on that. Oh, you're only allowed to say it in that voice or else not count it. What's that first sound in saw? When you see a so, what are you going to do with your mouth? Good job. Draw a picture of that little baby with the snake coming up to it and grabbing it. And you saw them, and you saw them in the road. What street were you in when you saw them? What does saw rhyme with? And now when you analyze saw to the core, you now talk to them and give them a paragraph with the word saw all over it. Whenever they get to that word saw, they need to act to that and use the right voice. And guess what? It will always be unique to them again, as long as you keep that up. I don't want to hear about the word was for the next week after that. And that is your uniqueize moment, your dyslexia's diced. Dyslexia diced for you today. That is for you. So right now, push the subscribe button. Right now, we're waiting because that will allow you to do get all these kinds of good jewels and these crazy stuff, and it will be all yours again. Again, I'm all here for you. If you enter my Patreon account just for as little as $2 or $5 a month, you could actually get, I mean, I'm not trying to make money here. I'm just trying to change the world a little bit. So you could actually be able to get into my world a little bit, get all kinds of free stuff, get my publications, my Aleph-based phonological awareness book for who knows how much money, for almost nothing. So looking forward to our next session. So subscribe now and check out the game that's going to give you and your family a dyslexia's dose and up the self-esteem of your little guy or gal. Thank you for coming. Looking forward.